Well, I gotta hand it to y'all. You came out swinging. I guess there's a fair amount of waydoo fans in our BayFoils audience that I wasn't aware of, and you guys had some feelings. Y'all came out swinging. And so, I mean, I'm going to talk about that video. I'm pretty sure if you haven't seen it already, the video is probably still going to be up. I don't have any plans on taking it down, but hopefully I can clarify the message I was trying to get across. First off, it was not a product review. I'll link an actual product review. I'll find one and put it in the link here if you were looking for that. Sorry. Yes, I am a fliteboard corporate shill cuck. I'm biased. I sell fliteboard. I ride fliteboard. I've openly admitted to that in the past. I didn't know that was a question. I've never claimed to be not biased. You can look through our catalog. But that also doesn't mean I don't ride other boards or I don't have opinions about other boards. So I'm entitled to my opinion. You're entitled to yours. I really didn't think I was making false claims because I really didn't even talk about the product. I was really just talking about the foam aspect to it. And it's the marketing, if anything, not the product. And 3, this wasn't an attack on any individual waydoo owner or their product specifically. Like, I actually like waydoo. I think they're the second best thing to a fliteboard. And in many countries, fliteboards are unreasonably expensive, like in South America and Brazil. U.S. products are taxed 200%. It means a $7,000 air is like $14,000. That's pretty crazy. So in some countries, fliteboards are not an option. And so the best next best thing is going to be a waydoo. I really think that. If you can't get a fliteboard, get a waydoo. Like, period. There's a lot of brands out there I could say that and have opinions about, but the truth is, I'm not coming after you, waydoo. I actually think they're pretty cool. But let's separate all of this aside because there is still some things that I said in that video that hold true regarding foam boards. Side note to all of this, I'm also just one dude. I record all these videos, I do all the editing, and I do all the uploads myself. It's a lot of work, and a lot of times videos don't come out how I really wanted it to or land the way I expected. For that, I am really sorry. I truly didn't want to flame the fires of brand wars in our video because I actually do think it's better if we all get along together. But I'm critical because I am passionate. I really do believe that we need to hold ourselves to a higher standard, especially because, remember, we're in a very small segment of the water sports world. There's probably maybe only 30,000 efoils out there, period, compared to tens of millions of surfboards that are out there. So we're a very small section of the pie. We got to stick together. Save all the negative toxicity that you brought to my comment section and put that towards the anti-foil people. Put that towards the people who are trying to get foil boards banned. Okay? Well, with that out of the way, let's get into what I really wanted to convey with that last video. But before we get into that, we kind of need to understand some truths about the perception of efoils in the greater world. That might not be super awesome. You can believe me or not on this, but this is things that I've heard directly from customers. You know, as a shop, we directly interface with end users, and they have opinions, whether they've been out on a foil board or not. They have a feeling. They have feelings. Just like we do as efoilers, we, for the most part, surround ourselves with like-minded individuals who also think efoiling is cool. Our social media is skewed because the algorithm knows we do efoiling and shows us other cool efoiling content, doesn't show us detractors. But the reality is the public opinion of efoiling is not really high. There's a lot of things above it, and there are a couple things below it, but efoiling is pretty down on just the social ladder. And you might be thinking, why? Well, a lot of people think they're too expensive. A lot of people think they take no skill to ride or become very boring. A lot of people think they are dangerous, they're reckless, they should be illegal, or they are illegal in their country or state. A lot of people just hate because they're jealous. That's really reality in this world, in this year, 2024, the income disparity is more real than anything. And some people who are struggling to survive see somebody who has $10,000 to spend on an electric toy and they get mad and put that jealousy out there in the world. And then also, for like, people don't really associate efoiling with a demographic of people that they like. And not really going to touch that one too much, but I'm sure you can probably think about who has the kind of money to invest into these toys, and the kind of people who are interested in this kind of stuff might not be the coolest people to hang out with at the bar or at the cookout. So with all that in consideration, you know, dealers and affiliates like us on the ground that are selling these efoils, we have to work really hard to educate people and inform them about the reality of efoils. And these common opinions are really hard to work against. It's really like pushing the boulder uphill. It's an uphill battle to change people's perception about efoils and to make them think that they're cool. Because people come in with all these preconceived notions, and it's really hard for us to really change people's perspective. People are going to have their mental image and their mental perception already made up by the time they come into the store to try to ask questions. And now, how does this relate to what I was talking about with the Evo board? Well, it has everything to do with mental imagery and word association. We're going to do a little experiment right now. I'm going to have you, in your mind, picture an electric guitar. Just what you think of an electric guitar should look like. Picture it in your mind. And yeah, I bet 99% of you either pictured one of two images, either a Fender Stratocaster or a Gibson Les Paul. Why? Because statistically, these are the two de facto models. These guitars have been mass produced for decades. They became the mental blueprint of electric guitar. And now, statistically, only 10% of the world population is a musician. So I bet you less than 10% of the population who's watching this video plays guitar. So how is it that somebody who doesn't play guitar, is not a musician, can still conjure up this image? Well, that's all about the marketing and the perception and the power of our brains. I bet you probably even heard a little bit of country music or rock and roll or something when you saw that image of the guitar. And so this is what I mean by bad look for the efoil industry, because this is what could happen to the efoil industry. If the entry-level mass-produced units become the mental image that people create when they think of an efoil, it's going to give us another negative thing that dealers have to fight against. Because the reality is, sure, not everyone is going to use the foam board or the inflatable. Those are really the entry-level market to bring the cost down to get more people out there. But these boards are going to elicit a negative reaction from the general populace based on the social zeitgeist that surrounds other industries, such as the surfboard industry, which is the biggest water sports industry on the planet. Just to ballpark some numbers, the surfboard industry produces probably like 500,000 surfboards a year, and the total efoil industry probably has less than 40,000 boards out there. So they're producing, the total amount of efoils out there is 10% of what the surfboard industry sells in 1 year. So there are a lot more surfers out there than efoilers. And in the surfboard industry, foam boards, foil boards, efoils, and inflatables are not respected and objectively hated on. So for the record, I don't think that. I've surfed on an inflatable board before. I think foam boards are, for better or worse, on par with an inflatable. My only thing is inflatables are much easier to repair or replace than a foam board, especially if you hit something hard like a dock or a rock. EVA foam can shatter and break, and then it's kind of just landfill material. You could at least try to patch an inflatable, but being super honest with you, if you tear it pretty bad, it's also landfill material. But these are the entry level point. It's understandable that to lower the cost, we gotta make some compromises with that. But it doesn't overcome the negative attention and the overwhelming stigma that foam boards have. This has been a topic in the surf industry for decades, since the first foam boards started being mass produced and sold by big box stores. They're not super high quality, they don't ride great, and the same thing with efoils. The people who bought foam boards and surfed on them were not people who were really held in high regards in the surfing community. Same is true with foil boards. Now that foil surfing is like taking off, surfers have negative reaction about foil surfers too. And so you come, and even more so with efoils, because they're even more expensive and even kookier of a toy than a foil surfboard is. Efoils have been banned outright in a lot of surf cities because surfers just don't like them. They don't want to deal with them. They are scared, jealous, who knows? But the fact is they are the majority and have more social power than efoils do. All this to say is, when you have an efoil board and it's a foamy, and you have places like where we are at in California where the surf industry is really dominant, that's a hard sell, man. Like if I'm at the beach and I have a foam board and a random beach goer walks up and I'm like, hey man, you want to try this foam electric surfboard? You can surf without needing to know how to surf. They're probably going to go tell me to fuck myself and get off the beach, realistically, because foam boards are not respected and efoils are not respected. This is a double negative of bad press and bad public opinion. That's what I mean by it's not a good look. I personally don't care, but I'm also a nerd and a kook. I listen to jazz music. I don't watch sports. I'm not your typical surfer guy, and my opinion really doesn't matter. The reality is that is the default opinion. Foam boards suck. Foil boards suck. Again, I'm not trying to convince you of this. You can go out on the internet and find plenty of articles supporting this philosophy that foam boards suck and foil boards suck and efoils suck even more, which is bad. That's all negative things that we have to work against. It's stacking the deck against us. It's like if I said, hey man, you want to check out this restaurant? It's super good. Oh, but they don't take cards, there's no parking, and the service takes forever. You probably wouldn't give it a chance. You probably, even if it was bomb.com, with that info, you'd probably be like, nah man, let's just go somewhere else. I don't want to deal with those negatives, even if the positive outweighs all of it. My perception of those negatives has ruined giving it a chance. It's the same with efoiling. If people only hear that they're heavy, or that they break down, or that they're not fun, or that foam boards are bad for the industry, like if they hear this, if they know this stuff, and if that's all they hear, it's impossible to change their perception and change their opinion and convert them into an efoiler. That's just the reality. Like, it's not my opinion. Again, I think foam boards and inflatables are a great option to get people into it. You start on it and then eventually get into a hardboard, because hardboard just is better. But I don't speak for the entire surfboard industry. I don't speak for the communities that are out there hating on this stuff. We have to understand it and accept it, because if we live in our bubble of efoil world, that's where we get into problems. We don't know that this is a real opinion that people have. We show up to the local beach and we get beat up. I've seen it. Like, I have stories to tell about Fort Point, and like a couple years ago, there was an altercation between a foiler and some surfers, and it involved some rocks at the beach. But that's just the reality. So, yeah, again, this video is probably too long as a response to a 10-minute video, but whatever. Again, I'm probably not going to take the original video down. I'm going to leave it up for reference. But the reality is, as efoilers, we all need to put our best foot forward, collectively speaking, if we want to grow the sport. We need to show how cool it is and not how lame it is. We need to highlight the top of the market. We don't want to highlight the bottom of the market. And right now, waydoo is really investing in marketing that bottom of the market point. It's not a good look. We need to showcase more of this and less of this. But we'll see you in the next video.